Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna Fiesel, and I'm your host of Afternoon Drive Home on IC in Christ Radio, your source for news and entertainment. You can also find us on television two different ways. Channel 182 on Charter Communications, that's in North Alabama, and then all over the world with Abundant TV. It's found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And in a few months, we're going to be in Australia
Oh,
too. Yeah, so that's going to be pretty cool too. Thank you, Rob, for making this happen. Appreciate everything you're doing to keep us on the air at this station. We've got a lot of listeners now.
yeah, we're gonna have to change and develop that accent.
Yeah, how are we going to do this, mate?
Yeah,
But we're going to have to work on that.
yeah, that takes work.
Absolutely. Maybe they like the southern mate
Yeah,
because I'll make two syllables out of
yeah.
it. I have my friend Phillip Gilliland with me. He's with American Fellowship of Cowboy Churches. He's no stranger. Everybody knows Phillip. Oh, and folks all over the country who are in cowboy churches are responding to
Oh,
you.
good, good. I left a message to a guy in Pennsylvania this morning in a cowboy church. So
Mm-hmm.
I told him, I said, you can call me back, but wait for an hour because I'm gonna be tied up for a little while.
Uh-huh. Well, it's a whole lot of fun. I always love having you on the show, Phillip.
My pleasure.
And so many great things happening. We go to Cowboy Church, and we love it. It's just, you're free.
Oh yeah, yeah. And it's we're having a really great time at the trading post right now because we've got a couple of families or maybe more that take up a couple of rows that came to us from a kind of a different denomination of a traditional church and they had never really knew the Bible because their pastor always told them, said, I'll tell you what you need to know. You don't have to read the Bible. Well, that's not what the Bible says. The Bible itself says we ought to study and read and understand what it says. But it's like having all these people, and man, they are precious people, and but they are just eating up the cowboy church because we're all together and we don't have barriers, and I think in that particular denomination they had a lot of barriers, and so these folks that I'm really learning to love, and they bring a lot to the table at our church, and they've just been coming a short time, but man, did they ever fit right in, and they fell in love with it, and I'm glad they did. So cowboy church is different, and I'm in the midst of doing a bunch of cowboy church 101s again. Cowboy church 101 is a thing where you go back to a cowboy church because over a period of time a lot of people from traditional churches kind of migrated in, and they don't understand the difference, and why do we not take up an offering, and there's a reason behind everything. The fundamental things are, we don't take up an offering because we don't want somebody to be embarrassed that doesn't have something to put in it. Now, there's always a little red barn at the back of the church that people can put their tithes and offering in. Well, we're just not going to pass a plate around in front of somebody for fear of making them feel uncomfortable. So we do that, and we don't vote on very many things. We tend to do things by consensus. Now, obviously, if you're building a new building like Lookout Mountain Cowboy Church, you voted whether or not to go forward and borrow the money or do that building. Those big things.
Debt free, I wanted to admit.
Oh yeah, and we got into the new church at the Trading Post for just about $50,000.
Wow.
I mean, because now it's like a 300 and something
I
thousand
know, it's
plus,
nice.
but it actually, we ended up in debt about $50,000 on that whole
In
thing.
today's terms,
And
that's not bad.
it's just unbelievable because of the way people gave, and I was at Stillwater's Cowboy Church in Pulaski this past Sunday, doing that same Cowboy Church 101, and they're getting ready to start a building program, and they have a pretty good nest egg built up, and I think most of us don't want to bury our church in debt. We want to have our part of doing the building and making buildings, and because we need space, but we're not going to have stained glass windows and big giant steeples and
Mm-hmm.
carpeted floors, because that's not who we are,
Mm-hmm.
and that doesn't help you really doesn't help you reach lost people for Jesus. And our target is not traditional church people. We're not trying to go out and steal people from other churches. Our target is unchurched people, but occasionally you'll get a group of people that come from somewhere else. They just didn't really fit in, and
Mm-hmm.
so they come to Cowboy Church, and we want them to understand why we do things the way we do them. We really don't want hymn books or pianos. Uh, we just don't want to be another church, and but we want to do our music kind of different, and we want it to be church done simple. We say, Cowboy Church is for people that don't like churches. So, you can come as you are, and that means in whatever clothes you have on. It means in whatever spiritual shape you're in, and that's the way people went to Jesus. This whatever shape they were in. So that's the way we want them to come.
They didn't take time to go put a suit on and all
No,
that stuff. They
don't
just
worry about that. I've had guys to come in church on Sunday because they'd been deer hunting and they had blood all over their boots from
mm-hmm.
dressing a deer, and I want them to come to church. And if that, that's fine with me.
Mm-hmm.
Or if they've been at the barn trying to feed and didn't have time to go clean their boots off good, no problem. We have concrete floors. Don't worry about it. But
Well, on a farm, you got things you do every single day.
yes, yes, and I did them this morning and every morning, and I'm not complaining about it, but it's just what we do, and Cowboy Church is just a little different, and
I was talking to one of my friends, and she doesn't go to church. Now she believes in God, and she believes in Jesus, and she's been saved, and all that. She said, so I just asked her. She opened the door, and I walked in, and I said, well, then why don't you go? And I said, you're such an awesome person. I said, I just love being around you.
yeah,
And you can tell she's got Jesus in her. I mean,
yeah,
you really can.
yeah,
She said, something happened a long time ago to church, and it just, I don't want to go to church anymore.
yeah, yeah.
And so then she asked me about the Cowboy Church. She asked me
Mm.
that she opened that door, and I did. So I think she's going to come to church with me Sunday.
Well, it'd be awesome. That'd be awesome.
Mhm.
And that's what I mean. It's for people that don't like churches, and Cowboy Church is just relaxed, and we tried to do away with the barriers that made people uncomfortable coming to church, and we want people to feel at home. And uh, I love getting to go around, and right now I'm on a real, I guess, speaking spree about Cowboy Church 101. It's just that they all kind of hit me up at once to do it again, and so I'm in fact, if the Lord doesn't change it, I'm going to do it at our church this Sunday, and then the next Sunday I'll be up in Morristown, Tennessee, with Ken and Karen Hightower, and do it up there. And I'm going to meet with Brother Michael Marsh. He wants to do it in his church and give him all the material. He and I are having lunch together, I believe, Thursday, and then he'll do it at Sand Mountain Cowboy Church, and probably at some point in time I'll be back to Lookout Mountain, and I might do it, and we may do it because I believe Don said something to me about the dedication service. He wanted me to come and speak, and if that's the case, then I may, because I can see again, that we have a lot of people that come from a different background that don't know why we do. And here's the thing: a lot of people that come out of traditional church, and I'm not bashing traditional churches at all. I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for a little country traditional church that I grew up in. But the thing is that a lot of these churches are dying out. They didn't change. They've done things the same way for the last 50 years, and they don't have any young people. I was blown away. I mean, we have about 30, 25 to 30 at our church, and
We do
you
too.
go in about any of our Cowboy churches, and you'll find 25 or 30 at Stillwater's this past Sunday. they all came up to pray together at the end. All the young people did. They did that on their own. I bet there's 25 or 30 of them. And I just say thank you, Lord, for these young people, because if it wasn't for them, they are the church of tomorrow. You better be nurturing them and discipling them, because they're going to be the church of tomorrow. So I love that about Cowboy Church. We usually have a lot of young people, a lot of children, and before you know it, they'll be the church. So, and it's kind of surprising how fast things can change and happen. But we're losing some of those country churches like I grew up in, like you grew up in. They're kind of fading, and it hurts my heart a bit to see that happening. But if you don't have young people, and you look around your church and they all look like me, then your church is trouble. Yeah, it's in trouble. And
Rusty Rowan came and sang
yeah,
at the church the other Sunday, and Rusty said, "You know something?" He said, "I just like coming here."
Yeah,
because everybody just welcomes him, and he said, "I feel no restrictions when I'm here."
Yeah.
And then we had some awesome singers who came actually this past Sunday, and they said the same thing. They said, when we get to come to a Cowboy church, we look forward to it.
Yeah.
Because there's no. You just feel free. That's what I keep hearing over and over and over again from people who come and visit. And we'll ask, "What did you think about it?" And they go, "I just feel free."
Yeah. And we want people to be free. I mean, the Bible says, "Whom He makes free is free indeed." So, you ought to be. We've had some really cool things happen about that lately. Both at Southern Cross Cowboy Church, at Trading Post, and our other churches are. Man, we are in a. It's like there's a whole group of our churches that are in the middle of an unplanned revival right now, and it's just amazing to see what the Lord's doing in these churches. And it doesn't matter if I'm there or not there. I was gone a week or two, come back, and we had 7 people to baptize, and baptized 7 people a week ago this past Sunday. And I think this coming Sunday, there's 3 more to be baptized at the Trading Post. There's some at Southern Cross that are to be baptized. That, man, I am so excited for Eric and Haley Walker. They're wonderful people, and the Lord's really working in their life at Southern Cross, for Kane and Rebecca Brothers and some others that are helping with this process, and for people that are stepping up to lead Bible studies. And that's the thing. We like to do small group Bible studies. We have a whole program through the AFCC called G2P, that stands for Gather, Grow, Produce. And, because we're supposed to make disciples. So, we're big on small group Bible study. And I think that helps do what we're told to do, disciple our people. So, there's a lot of good things, but we're in a season of events. Most all of our churches in the fall do a festival or an Old West Day, and our Day of the Cowboy, like No Fences, which is coming up this 3rd Saturday in October. And if you go to any of those church Facebook pages, you can see flyers of the event. I know this weekend on Friday night, Crossover Cowboy Church has the last qualifying rodeo for the finals, which will be October the 9th at Colbert County, and that is the fall gathering, which is October 7, 8, and 9. That's a big weekend, and there'll be, hundreds, if not over 1,000 people there. The chuck wagons, there'll be 10 or 12 chuck wagons cooking, and there'll be speakers. There'll be the ranch rodeo finals, and then there's a youth rodeo that Saturday night. It's on my birthday, October the 8th. I can't think of anything much better on my birthday than to be at a ranch rodeo with my good friend Tuffy Lofton judging it, and then that night to see a bunch of kids do regular rodeo events. It's going to be, that's a great weekend. But I started talking about Southern Cross because their ranch rodeo is Friday night, It starts about 6 on Friday night. Then on Saturday, they have a Saturday afternoon. I think it starts maybe at 5 o'clock. They have a cornhole tournament and some foods, chuck wagon cooking, and some other things. And I told Wormy I'd be sure and mention that today. But all our churches, when we get into October's, we are in weekends of gatherings and festivals, and they are fun. I go to as many of them as I can. But I'm looking the one at the Trading Post. It's in the first weekend in November, and then the second weekend in November, Jacob and I will be at the WRCA finals out in Amarillo. So we have a busy schedule for the next couple of months, and I'm just excited for what all we get to do and be a part of in this thing called Cowboy Church. It is growing at a phenomenal rate with new churches sprouting up, and we've enlisted the help of some people. Jeff Magruder out in Utah has joined our new church start team. We're praying about another guy in Kentucky to help us, and I know my friend Danny Bry that leads that team that I'm on with new church starts. He is in Wyoming as we speak with some new church starts there. This thing is really, I think, about to blow wide open next year. I don't even know. We've done 4 pastor processings this year. When we're doing one on October the 6th and 7th at right before the gathering, because those guys will be here, and we've got some great guys to go through the process, uh, and we it's kind of vetting a guy, and it's also a time of encouragement for somebody that is a pastor that wants to be a pastor in a Cowboy church. Before we hang our name beside him, we're going to understand what he believes and make sure our beliefs kind of line up, and that they, most importantly, that they line up with God's word. So we do that. We
That's
learn.
critical.
Oh, it is anymore, and we got burned in a deal years ago about that, and we learned a valuable lesson. And since then, we start doing this thing called pastor process, and Jimmy Holloman leads that team, does a great job. He is from Dublin, Texas, and he'll be here. This will be his second process, and by the time we finish that one, we will have done 4 of them this year, 2 in Texas and 2 in Alabama. So, it's just because of all the interest in new church starts and getting people going. So, it's a busy time, but it's a really good time. Because in the midst of all this, it seems like there's revivals coming in our churches, and that's awesome.
I think it is too. You hear my phone ding a lot. I keep this on because we have a very special group, Facebook group, and it's called Church Ladies. And all throughout the day, I like to keep it open because there are prayer requests and people put their Bible studies and just quotes and stuff, to help you out through the day. And I really love these.
Oh yeah.
And so I love hearing the dings. And it has a special ding, so I know when it's one that comes from our church.
Right.
And so that's why you keep hearing little dings, and I'll look and say, "Who's got a prayer request this time?"
Yeah.
So that's neat because there's a closeness that you feel.
Yeah, and Facebook has its hang-ups, but I'm telling you, it is a great way that
This is a great thing.
we figured out how to use it to something way more positive than some people do, and most all of our churches use it as a way of communication. So we all, just about everybody, does Facebook Live and with our services. That ding there was a way different. That sounded like it might be a
That's probably one of those telling me that they're going to help me pay my college off or something.
Probably gonna. They want to extend the warranty on your vehicle.
Yeah, I get plenty of those as well. Absolutely. Oh, and I wanted to mention this. Curtis Chesser was on the show yesterday, and he took a big trip to Kentucky.
Yeah, I talked to him yesterday, and he had a lot of good things to say about it. And he's trying to plan another trip back. That's good. And a lot of our guys, a lot of our outreach is done through chuck wagons and arenas, and it is amazing when you get a chuck wagon team healthy and function and what all they can
Mm.
accomplish. That is one of our great. I used to say it's our secret weapon is that chuck wagon team because they can. And I talked to our Miss Barbara who leads ours the other day, and they are just about full for I think the month of October. They are full. They don't have a Saturday in October that they don't have something scheduled. I know that Sand Mountain Cowboy Church also has, and I think maybe theirs, you'd have to just look at their Facebook page. Maybe theirs is the third, they have a fall festival, and it's a great thing to go to. I've been to it several times. Uh, but that one is another one that's a lot. They have a lot of vendors and people, selling wares and music and
Things
food.
they've made.
Oh yeah, homemade things. And
That's what everybody likes. You need
well,
to
and,
check that
and
out for Christmas
somebody
presents.
somebody over there, and I always get a bucket of them. They get homemade, or they gather these wild muscadines and wash them and put them in these nice buckets, and
I
they're
saw that.
and because they're so good for you, I would get me a bucket of them and just take
Mm-hmm.
them and sit them on the in the back porch refrigerator, and then occasionally go by and
Yeah.
grab me a handful, and it'll last me for a while,
Uh-huh.
and I know it's good for
She
you.
has her own farm.
Yes, that's right. She
Uh-huh.
raises those, but so that's one of the things I like to get over there is those muscadines, and uh, they're like I said, they're really good for you, and
See, I went last year, and there was a lady who said, "Hey, Donna," and I was walking by. I was actually on the other side, and she said, "Before you leave, come over here." And I went over there, and she had soaps all over the place. And she said, "You taught me how to make soap." She was in
yeah,
one of my soap
oh yeah,
classes,
yeah,
and that was just thrilling for me to see somebody that I actually taught how to make soaps, and they're beautiful and smelled so
oh yeah,
good.
yeah.
And I said, I bet you sell a bunch of them. She already had, and people buy them. You need to go buy and buy these for Christmas presents.
Oh yeah,
And you're supporting a small business person when you do that.
that's right. And not only that, it's somebody that made something with their hands, not coming out of a factory with a bunch of other stuff
And
in
you have
it.
to wonder what came in it.
Yeah, yep, yep. This way, that somebody's put their heart into it, and I just like that. I like that. I like those events. They're really in a day and age when everything seems to be so different. It gives us a chance to go back a few years, especially with those chuck wagons and the Dutch oven cookings that go on. And that reminds me, Marshall County is having I think a chili cook-off competition, and I think that may be the same weekend as they do their Flying High rodeo. But
Mm-hmm.
you go to their Facebook page, it'll tell you about it. That's the one in Albertville. So any of these churches that are around us, which is Crossover Cowboy Church in Henniger, Lookout Mountain down in Collinsville or Sand Rock, and Sand Mountain Cowboy Church of Marshall County, Trading Post Cowboy Church, Southern Cross Cowboy Church, all of these churches, Rugged Cross Cowboy Church, Cross Halo Cowboy Church, Lonesome Dove Cowboy Church. All of these churches in our area have a Facebook page. If you want to know uh, what's going on, go to their Facebook page and you'll see their events posted there.
And if you're kind of unsure, is there one around me? There's a website you can go to. Just
You
type
go
in your
to
zip code and
Yeah, you
you'll
go
find
to
them.
the American Fellowship of Cowboy Churches website, which is simply this AmericanFCC.org. And you go through that, you can see all the information about the fall gathering. There's also a place on there that says find a cowboy church near you, and you just put in your zip code, and it will bring up the nearest cowboy church to you. If you're interested in starting a cowboy church, contact me. And that is simply Phillip at AmericanFCC.org. You can contact me that way. And like I said, we're starting a number of new cowboy churches. This has been a really good year. But next year looks like it's going to be bigger. And it's a good thing to be doing what I get to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's a blessing to get to do it.
I've noticed several times he said, "I get to do." And that means your heart's in it. When you say, I get to have
Yeah,
afternoon drive home,
yeah,
or you get to say, I get to do this, or you get to do that, that's somebody you want to really like clue in on, okay? Because they really enjoy and they've got the heart for it. You know, a lot of folks I've seen, you know, maybe talk show hosts, we'll just use them for an example. They act like they really don't want to do it.
yeah,
I mean, they're just kind of up there and they're just, you know, and that's in everything. When I was in the cell phone business, there would be people selling cell phones. You can tell they didn't want to do it. And but if you want to do it, it's kind of like it's a calling.
yeah. Yeah, I get tickled, and I thank the Lord for every one of them. I got a message from my distant relative, lady that I love dearly. Our families were really close. Martha Beck, she was texting me last night and telling me, said, "You better take care of yourself." She was fussing at me because Martha's a sweet lady, and our families go back several generations, and uh, she was fussing at me, telling me, said, "You better take care of yourself." And several people tell me that all the time because I'm about to be 73 years old, and I appreciate it, but I know that my strength doesn't come from myself. And that doesn't mean I should abuse myself. That doesn't give me a license to go wear myself out. But at the same time, if I'm going to wear out, I'm going to wear it out for the Lord and and for His honor and for His glory. But these are the best of times to get to see all that God's doing in these churches. It's just unbelievable, right?
But it's different when your heart's in it and it's something you enjoy to do. You get tired, but it's a different kind of tired,
Uh-huh.
you know. And but if you're doing something you don't enjoy, it just drags. You know,
Oh,
that's a wearing out tired right there.
and I don't have that. I look forward every day to getting up and checking off the things that are on my
Mm-hmm.
schedule for that day to get done. And there's maintenance thing. I mean, when I leave here today, I got to get my truck serviced. I made 2 trips to Texas in August. One was 1,400 plus miles, and one was 1,700 plus miles. And that's a little bit unusual, but there's so much going on and so much to
Mm-hmm.
attend to and so many opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to let those escape us. So we're all, I think, everybody in this fellowship is working harder than they've ever worked. I mean, I look at the ladies, Miss Connie, Miss Pat. I look at the guys like Jimmy and Danny and Jeff and Todd Hervey, Todd Mitchell, all of that, all of us who get to do what we get to do. We don't think about anything except for it's to see lost people come to Jesus. That is the ultimate end.
Before we go into a commercial break, I'd like to talk about another very special lady who just passed away,
Okay.
and that's Miss Bonnie.
Yes. Okay.
And I got to meet her a few weeks ago. Something happened; her dog went missing, and we didn't know each other. And so the dog just happened to find itself at my house.
Mm-hmm.
And so it didn't. I saw a name on it, but there was no telephone number on the little collar. And so I made a picture of me and the dog, and I said, anybody know who this little awesome animal belongs to?
Yeah.
And then somebody told Miss Bonnie, and then Miss Bonnie and her sister came by.
Miss Patsy.
We
Yeah.
were just like friends, just I mean, immediately. She loves animals like I do. And so she just jumps out of the car. That dog just jumps into her. I mean, she's
Yeah.
a tiny little thing. The dog was bigger than she was.
Yeah. Yeah.
But she's just somebody you just got to meet like that. And she was at several events. And she would always walk up to me and thank me for holding that dog.
Oh
And I
yeah.
said, well, I was afraid it would get out on Highway 75 and something would happen to it. A
Oh
big truck come by and run over it or something. But I cared for her dog too.
yeah. Miss Bonnie's a precious lady, and she had a brief illness. It was fatal. She passed away a couple of days ago, and it hit all our churches because everybody knew Miss Bonnie. Miss
Mm-hmm.
Bonnie, and she always was smiling. She had a super positive attitude, and Miss Bonnie had a tremendous amount of love. She loved everybody. Miss Bonnie would be one of the best spokespeople for cowboy churches you'd ever
She's the
find.
reason I think I started
Oh yeah.
going. One
Oh,
of the reasons.
and she would always say the same thing. If you ever ask her, how are you, Miss Bonnie? Her answer, without without question would be the same thing every time. I am blessed by the best. I've heard her say that 100 times, and that's probably what'll be her. She'll be remembered for saying that. I am blessed by the best.
Look at that chill bump.
Yeah,
Chill
she
bump
always
jumping.
said that. Miss Patsy, who was at our church for a long time, and then
Mhm.
she and Miss Bonnie, when Miss Bonnie's husband Ed passed away, and I helped with his funeral several years ago. Uh, Miss Patsy moved in, sold her house, and moved in with Miss Bonnie. And Miss Patsy's the one that's going to be really lost
Yeah.
without Miss Bonnie. So keep that family in your prayers. And here's something I bet not many people knew. Miss Bonnie had a child and gave it up for adoption when she was basically a kid. And a little over a year ago, through all the DNA stuff, they reconnected.
Oh, awesome.
And they had got to know each other and developed a relationship over this past year. And I can't imagine what that was like, but I think it was something very, very special. And I'm not going to get to be at that service because I'm going to be somewhere else. But I know Brother Michael Marsh and Brother Aaron Johnson will do a fantastic job of celebrating Miss Bonnie's memory, because she was a tremendous lady, and she was just a poster lady of Cowboy Church.
I think so too. I didn't know that story, and that makes me love her even more, because women like that are my heroes.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of getting an abortion,
yes,
they're going ahead and have that baby. You're a hero if you do that to me.
And she gave, and that young lady found her and reached out to her, and man, I'm telling you, I can't imagine, but I know what Miss Bonnie's heart was, and boy, did she.
That's an ultimate love.
I think after that, after her husband passed away, after meeting this daughter that she gave up at birth, I think she was ready to go home and be with the Lord. There wasn't anything. There wasn't anything. There wasn't anything going to be any better than what she had happen, except she'd go home and be with the Lord. And that's just my thought.
When somebody like that passes away, you don't cry because they passed. You're happy with the memories that you got.
Oh,
it was mine was just a brief period of time.
Yeah.
I didn't know her that long.
Yeah.
But she made a huge, tremendous impact on my life.
Well, I'm telling you, everybody that she saw, she told them she loved them. She
made you feel so special.
Oh, she would tell everybody, and you know why she did that? Because she loved everybody. She did. She meant it. She wasn't just saying it. She meant it. She absolutely meant it.
Absolutely. We got to go into a commercial break. We're a little bit behind, but that's fine. It's worth talking about Miss Bonnie. She's an awesome, awesome lady. We'll be right back in just a few minutes. much for watching Afternoon Drive Home. My name is Donna Fiesel, and I'm your host. It's always good to be with you every single day, Monday through Friday from 1 to 3 p.m. Central. We have a new lineup. The Edge with Donna and Kathy is going to start coming on at 1 o'clock.
Oh, good.
Starting next week. And then the rest of the time from 1:30 on, you're going to be stuck with me, Afternoon Drive Home.
Yeah.
And always looking forward to guests like this one right here. Phillip Gilliland is with American Fellowship of Cowboy Churches. It's always great to be with you, Phillip.
Oh, I enjoy being here because it gives me a chance to talk about something I'm fond of, and that is our cowboy churches and this awesome ministry that we call. It's really a fellowship. And I told the people up in Pulaski Sunday, I said, you don't realize it, but I really work for you. And really, we're supported by our churches, and we don't have a set amount. Some churches never give anything. Some give a lot, and we know they get the blessing of it. But most of our churches give, and but we don't send them bills and tell them you got to pay this. Some of them, and even if it's a church that doesn't support us, we invite them to come to our events and participate anyway, because we don't want any barriers about anything. We don't need barriers. Barriers are what keeps people from coming to Christ.
Barriers can cause a division.
Oh,
too.
and it leads to divisions in churches and things. So
the color of carpet.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to get mad because I didn't get my red color.
Yeah. Well, you might be fussing over in a cowboy church whether it's gravel or concrete, but I mean the floor.
We leave that up to the man.
Yeah. And I like the concrete floors, and I was with the lady that does worship, leads worship up at Stillwater's. Her name is Nikki McLeod Warren. She got married a great guy, Mark Warren, but Nikki and she'll be doing the Sunday service at the fall gathering. She's one of the most incredible young ladies. But I love being up there and being where they have concrete floors and or gravel floors. I get tickled. See, Crossover has kind of shaven floors, and Matt Cano's at Cedar Creek. They are close to Sylacauga, which is the marble capital of the world, and their floors are marble chips.
Wow!
And it's amazing. The marble chip floors are beautiful, and it's great. So I can tell you, in the cowboy church, you might see about anything on the floor, and including something that came from the barn. But you probably won't see any carpet. I doubt you'd see any carpet.
Well, you know something? You'll see some Geraldine mud in the one we go to, because when it has rained a lot, it gets on my cowboy boots.
Yeah. Well, and I started to say that about Nikki Warren, and back before we ever finished, 6 months before we got in our church, she told me, and her and her husband Mark have this company called Double D Diamond, and they do custom leather work and some really artsy stuff, Western stuff. Really incredible. But she got us, I said, well, I want about 5 of these cowhide rugs. And she said, well, I got a deal on them right now. If you can take them now, I can get them. And so she got them for us, and I put them in my office, rolled up, and they stayed in my office for 6 months. And I kind of thought about, I hope they weren't too green, from the tannery or something. Because finally we got finished, and I carried them down there, and we put them out, man. Everybody that comes in there says, "Woo, I love these rugs," because I told her I wanted a certain color.
I need to write that down. Diamond.
Diamond D Customs. Yeah, Diamond. It's either, no, I said Diamond D. That's not correct. It's Double Diamond Custom Leather. And I have her phone number. I can give it to you.
Yeah, I'll need that, because
but you talk about a precious lady that's got a gift of music and songwriting. So her and Leon will do the Sunday morning service at the gathering, and I can't wait, because she just blows me away with her talent and what she is able to do. And uh,
Well, Miss Linda, who goes to the church we go to, made this for me,
oh,
and that is beautiful. I gotta let you
oh,
see
you're
it.
talking about Miss Linda Moses, Miss Linda
Look at
Moses.
that. Isn't that
Is
beautiful?
that who you're talking about, Miss Linda Moses?
Isn't that gorgeous?
It is
And
beautiful.
she's just a wire maker, and she makes all these beautiful, beautiful pieces. Now she was on my show the other day, and y'all, she's going to come back probably in about 2 more weeks, and she's going to do a jewelry making
Oh yeah,
class. Mhm.
cool.
And I'm really excited
Yeah.
to have her on the show. But anyway, she's just beautiful, and she put this little magnet on it, and she
Mm.
said, "I just wanted to give that to you."
Well, how sweet.
Isn't it just so sweet? And it's a real stone right there, and it looks like it could be a jasper stone. I believe that's what that is.
Well, I'm going to be excited when y'all have your dedication service. That's going to be a great time, and I mean, I loved the fifth Sunday night we had there. It
Oh no,
was
we
great.
have a good time.
It was great, and we have another one coming up. Is it in October? I believe maybe there's 5 Sundays in October.
I
It's
think
at
so.
I know it's at Cross Halo. The best I remember, it's at Cross Halo.
And then women have retreats too.
They do.
Uh-huh. And there's
Uh,
one I hope to get to go to. It's going to really kind of depend on what's going on here at the station.
yep. And one of some of the, I mean, they do some great stuff. I know that there's one coming up that has Miss Jennifer Welch speaking at it. Jennifer came to our church about a month ago. Her husband Brian pastors the Cowboy Church of Franklin County over in Russellville, Alabama. Well, Brian had this guy's a picture of health, and in fact, he is kind of a fitness, hard-working guy trying to keep. He's like 50 or 51 years old, and he had a bad stroke, and his motor skills came back immediately, but his speech has not. But she came and shared their story. They're great couple, uh, and she came and shared that story in our church, and it just blew our church away. And she then from that got a couple of gigs speaking at a couple of the ladies' conference. She's an incredible lady, uh, and you would love Jennifer Welch. She is a precious
You need to
lady.
get her on the show.
Yeah, you
I'm
should.
taking notes.
You should, because she is. It's awesome. Her and Brian is getting there. He has started. He was able to come up at the end of that service. We had several people that came for prayer, and he was able to pray with them in complete sentences. He could say a word or two. He knows his mind is sharp as a tack. It just doesn't come out his mouth in complete sentences. But he was able to pray that day with everyone that came up there, and it was good for us. It was good for them, and what a blessing that was. So uh, I'll see them again at the gathering, and I'm looking forward to seeing how much more progress he's made since that happened last January. And he can ride a horse, drive a truck. He can do anything. He just can't get all his words together, but he's going to. He's going to.
No doubt. Anybody with
Yeah.
that kind of driving ambition will.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. I wanted to mention a couple of our sponsors really quick, and one of those is Bobby Ledman.
Oh yes.
Twin City Used Car Sales, and we talked about him yesterday when Mr. Chesser was on the show about how, and I went out and did a remote, by the way, in Fort Payne. He's opened up another location in Gadsden,
Yes.
and it is taken off. I mean, doing really good. But what I've noticed about Bobby, when some of the other, and I'm not knocking anybody, I'm just saying some of the other car dealers can't find cars,
Yeah.
somehow he's finding them.
And it doesn't matter if it's a motor home or a tractor. If you tell him to find it, he'll find it.
I'm laughing because I was joking with him. I was only kidding. And I said, I'd like to have a pink tractor. I was just joking. And so he called me in a few days and said, Miss Donna, I've not found a pink tractor. He said, but I'll keep looking for you until I find a pink tractor. And I said, Bobby, I was kidding with you. I didn't mean I wanted to. I said, Phil would not ride a pink tractor.
Well, Phillip would, I can tell you. I haven't had to yet, but I would if I
I'm
had
talking
to.
about my Phillip.
Yeah.
If he had to, he would. But we have my granddad's old Cub out there.
Oh, I love a Cub tractor. That's the first one I ever
Uh huh.
drove was a Cub tractor.
Yeah, it's got this little bar you put on it, and you just kind of wind it like that. I don't know how many rides I got to have on the back of that
Yeah,
tractor.
man, those things they're special. I keep saying I'm gonna buy me one day. One that's been restored, but
Yeah, Phil's gonna my Phil's gonna piddle with that one. That's
oh,
out there.
that I love those memories. I remember the first time my dad turned me loose to cut hay with that thing, and I wasn't but about 12 years old, and it was a big field of fescue, and it was thick and heavy, and that little Pitman rod mower, I'd have to get off of it just every little bit to clean the
Mm-hmm.
bar off because it
Uh-huh.
just would weight it down. But I got that whole field cut. My dad was so I remember he was really proud of me for cutting that field, and we baled it for hay. But I'll never forget that day because that was the first time that he turned me loose on a hay mower.
There's something about farming. I mean, there's something about and I talk with Philip about every single new thing I'm going to do, okay? Because first of all, he's had the experience in it. Plus, he prays. Like when we started this radio station, I told you first. Well, my husband first, but you second. And so the first thing you want to do, he said, well, let's we're going to pray about this. And so it's just been a success from day one.
Well, good.
And so thank you for everything you do. Now I'm hatching chickens, and I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait to get Philip over here today because the first one started hatching today.
Yeah,
And I heard something in the incubator, and I said, "Wow, it's not 3 o'clock yet." Because if you watch everything and listen to everything on the internet, they tell you it's going to be exactly,
yeah,
21
no,
days and all this kind of stuff. And I thought, well, it's not time yet. It's not 3 o'clock.
yeah,
And so I looked in there, and there it was, new
yeah.
life coming out.
Oh yeah, it's a thrill. Of course, I mean, if you don't know, I spent all my working life in the poultry business, and
Uh,
it was really good to me. It was good to my mom and dad. In fact, the poultry industry saved Sand Mountain. It was the
I
back
think so
when
too.
everybody was trying to farm these little 10 and 15 acre cotton patches to make a living. If it hadn't been for the poultry industry
Mhm.
coming to Sand Mountain in the 50s, I don't know what would have happened to a lot of these farms. But that business was good to me. I spent 40 years working in it, so it was really good to me.
Well, I was relieved. I was a little worried because there are 7 eggs in there, and I thought, well, only one is coming through. You made me feel so much better about all of
Yeah,
this.
they'll be fine. A little touch different in humidity or heat can make hours worth of difference in
Hmm.
the hatchability, and so all of those things are factors that the internet don't take into consideration.
True, but one thing that I think was good advice, and that was about the little rollers that
Yeah,
actually rolled, and it said 2 days before they're going to hatch, you need to take the rollers out.
right. And
And
let
then
them
I
have.
put this, yeah, just let them hatch. And then you needed to put something, it's like a shelf liner, it's made out of some kind of plastic or something. Put that on it, and that way they won't get deformed legs. If their
Yeah,
legs or
they
feet were to
slip.
fall.
Well, if they slip too, you
Hmm.
don't want them to have a super smooth surface because
Hmm.
if they slip, their legs will.
Yeah, it caused them to break a little
Yeah,
leg or
well, it
whatever.
gets out of a joint. It gets out of joint. Their
Hmm.
little bones are just like rubber right now,
Hmm.
and so if you stretch a rubber band out, it'll
Hmm.
eventually break
Yeah.
it. So if they're on too smooth of a surface, that's not a good
And that
thing.
would have been smooth. I didn't want them slipping, sliding in
Yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah,
But isn't it nice to see? And when you guys have cowboy churches that are coming up,
yeah.
it's got to be kind of the same feeling I've got with these chickens.
Well, I think especially when you see one getting and the best example, and I'm sure some of my other pastor friends are tired of hearing me say it, but we've just never had many that took off like Lookout Mountain did, and you know,
There's way over 100 people who come there every
yeah,
Sunday.
and I mean it just sprouted up and took off like none of them. Uh, and all you can say was that was the Lord's plan for Lookout Mountain Cowboy Church. and there's great people there. There's great people in all our cowboy churches, but my
Well,
goodness,
Linda Rakeshaw. By the way, Linda Rakeshaw is the one who made this, and her husband is there as well. And they came from a traditional church,
hmm
and so she and I just clicked like that. Well, we got a lot of the same likes. We like making jewelry and stuff like that,
yeah, yeah. There's some one,
and more. I mean, so many women who go there that
yeah, and one of my favorite guys is Mr. Wendell. Mr. Wendell's one of my he is a man that has a lot of wisdom. Uh,
that's him, Rakeshaw.
is that
Uh
you're
huh.
oh
That's who I'm talking about.
I guess I forgot his last name,
Hmm.
but he is
They are
one of
awesome
he is
couple.
a he is a tremendous guy to me. He's one of those guys that he may not be up front and doing a lot of talking, but he is the backbone of that church. Guys like Mr.
Hmm.
Wendell is part of the very backbone of that
And his
church.
wife sings.
Yeah, yeah,
Ask him if he sang. He said, "You don't want me up there singing."
yeah. He
And his wife went, "No, you don't."
he's everybody's got a story and everybody has a testimony, but if you ever get to talk to him, man, he's a fun
He's a
guy
fun.
to talk to. He's really I enjoy him. I always when I see Don, I always ask about Mr. Wendell because he's such an incredible guy.
Mhm.
And, but our churches are filled with those
I
kind
know
of people,
so
and
many awesome stories that you
yeah,
hear.
yeah, and that kind of I'm in kind of one of those seasons where I'm going from church to church, uh, and I get such a blessing out of going to see people that I don't get to see. That's why the gathering is such a big deal.
Hmm.
Uh, we've done those ever since we've been a fellowship, but this is the first time it's ever been in Alabama.
Hmm.
We did a couple in Arkansas, a couple in Oklahoma, and all the rest of them have been in Texas.
Hmm.
But now it's come all the way to Alabama, and that wasn't at my suggestion or anybody else's from Alabama's suggestion.
Hmm.
The guys from Texas were the ones that said we ought to go to and do this in Alabama.
Hmm.
We've done it at other places. Let's because we have a large number of cowboy churches, like 23 just in Alabama. That doesn't count Mississippi, Tennessee, and Georgia or Florida.
Hmm.
Just in Alabama, there's I think 23, and and the bulk of those are in the northern Alabama area, north of Birmingham anyway. So uh, we got 5 down in southern Alabama and a new one in New Brockton that's just sprouted out, and this is our chance once a year to get together and man, you talk about and these guys they all know each other,
Hmm.
so they come together and it's like a big giant family reunion with plenty of chuck wagon food and you know arena events and a tremendous amount of fellowship and worship even takes place in it. So
Well, you
it's a
mentioned
good
the
thing.
chuck wagon again, and I just want everybody in Scottsboro still talks about the chuck wagon with the ribbon cut.
Yeah,
And I remember Debbie, who's with Mountain Lakes Chamber of Commerce. Almost every time I see her, she says, "I still can't get over that ribbon cutting,"
yeah,
because she had told Phil, "I know Donna's really ambitious now. It's probably 5, 10 people may show up, and 400 people."
yeah. She
So
rolled that
she
chuck
was just
wagon
like,
out.
"Wow!" She couldn't believe it.
And a lot of people don't know, but they are really functioning chuck wagons. We load them on a trailer and
Hmm.
take them to wherever we need to take them to, and they're set up just like they would be out on a working ranch somewhere. They've
Hmm.
got a fly out in front to protect from the elements, and they cook the same way they cook. But
Uh-huh.
man, that food is unbelievable
I
too.
had flyers I was passing around all over town. I was just walking. I was really proud to promote you guys, and so I was shocked.
Yeah,
Even I couldn't believe it. I was just like, well, I thought maybe 50 people might show up. I knew it's going to be more than 10, about
yeah.
50, but 400.
Yeah, yeah, and
And there was
it's
enough food to go around. How did that happen?
well, yeah, and it's like our Geraldine in the Park events.
Uh huh.
There we get one or two of them to come there, and it really adds, I think, a lot
Mhm.
to that. A lot of people, you know, we've had chuck wagons cook at Cavender's Customer Appreciation Day in Huntsville. We've had
Mhm.
them cook at Cabela's the day they opened their
Mhm.
front doors. There was a chuck wagon that cooked there. Uh, Steve Olney's church, Cowboy Church of uh, Limestone County, they were over there cooking. Uh, and sometimes we have to call on each other for help. And that's one of the things about our churches in this fellowship. They're really closely
Mhm.
connected. And when I moved to the staff back years ago, it was one of the things we didn't have the connection that we needed to have, and I thought, you know, if I could accomplish one thing, it would be to get rid of any barriers. Back in, and that these pastors would tell you the same thing. It's like we were almost in competition with each other. Who could put on the biggest ranch rodeo? Who could do the
Mhm.
biggest this or the biggest that? And that wasn't the way it was meant to be. It was meant to be, how can we help one another do the best
Mhm.
we can do? And there's those same guys would tell you today that somehow that kind of went away, and we got rid of those barriers and all kind of got on the same team. And I think that's what has why the Lord has blessed us, is because we quit letting it be about us, and
Mhm.
let it be about Him.
Well, my first association with the Cowboy Church was actually my brother-in-law who passed away a few years ago,
Oh
Terry
yeah,
Willoughby.
yeah,
And so Terry just, he was saved. He just didn't want to go to it. He just felt
yeah,
uncomfortable, regular, typical, traditional church. And when I found out he was going to Cowboy Church, I thought, yeah, that's Terry.
yeah. He was one of my dear
But he's
friends.
very
I
comfortable.
helped in that funeral, and you know, he he and I go way back to teenage boys, and he 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 had an impact on helping us, because he was really instrumental in helping plant the Trading Post Cowboy Church where I pastor now.
Mhm.
He was really instrumental in helping plant the Cowboy Church of Marion County where my friend Tom Lewis pastors. And Terry, he done a lot of things that people didn't realize, because Terry knew everybody. He roped all over the country. I mean, he loved roping as much as anybody I've
Uh-huh.
ever known.
Trophies, competitions,
Oh,
all over the place.
yeah, I still have one of his buckles that he beat me out of one time, and he has told it Deborah, his wife, after he passed, that when something happens to me, give this to Phillip, because he would have beat me that day if he
Uh-huh.
had, one of his healers hadn't slipped a leg,
Uh-huh.
and because you couldn't beat him. I mean, he was so consistent.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done a lot of sermons about how important it is to be consistent. And Terry was, when it come to team roping, he was the most consistent guy I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a big help in planting some of these churches, a big help. And a lot of people came just because he went, because he
Mm-hmm.
was a bit of yeah, of a
He
celebrity in
sure
that
was.
world. And he loved it. He loved this culture. He loved that arena and stuff that went on. And we did some outreach things at his own arena that he provided the stuff for, to,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the cattle and things that happened. And
Terry
there
less Terry. Philip less than 30
all
seconds.
right, there's so many people like him and Miss Bonnie that have gone on
Mm-hmm.
that had such a big part in it.
Big
And
impact.
yeah, yeah, I don't. We should never forget, what we ought to be doing is asking, what can I do to impact the kingdom?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we need to be
Absolutely. Folks, thank you so much for watching Afternoon Drive Home on IC Radio in the town of Geraldine, Alabama.